Welcome to Format 101, our first video lecture on using Excel. This is a recap of Excel basics. This is not intended for the brand new user. Rather, if you've used Excel in the past and could use a quick refresher, this is really where I'm going with this. I'm just trying to highlight what the online lecture material covers. The first would be entering data. You start with a blank sheet, normally 3 of them, sheets 1, 2, and 3. You can click between them. You'll see on sheet 1 I actually have some data already entered. Sheet 2, notice down here, insert worksheet, and I can insert a new one. And likewise, I can right click on it and I can delete it. And you go, why is that sheet 5? Well, that's because I already made a sheet 4 and deleted it in the last video attempt, which I just deleted. But let's enter some data. Maybe we'll enter a couple numbers here. Maybe some text. Here is some long text. And you'll notice that the data goes in each cell. If I pick the cell A1, it highlights here in the top left, shows the value. The value is text. Here is some long text. And you say, well, geez, that bled over into B and C. Sure it did. And if I put my mouse between the two, I can adjust it. Isn't that neat? I can adjust the width of the cell. I can adjust the height as well by clicking here and going. You know, for example, if I were to take this and bump that font size up, you'll notice it now it's really long, like that. Wow. And that may or may not be useful. But you can do that. And do you see how I just went through there and just modified it? I can make that text bold, and I can underline it in italics. I can do all sorts of crazy things. And I can adjust it. What about these numbers? Well, I could format that cell and I could go to number. How do I do that? I click the cell with the right mouse button. Right modifies, left builds. That's a Microsoft thing. You'll get used to it. Go to number and say, well, maybe that one's a currency. So I'll set it to currency. Gosh, what happened? Well, the cell isn't wide enough. When I widen the cell, I say, oh, it's $567. And notice I put that in. I'll format this cell with number, and I'll say, oh, it's a number, and it has 3 decimal places. I don't know why it would, but it does, for the sake of argument. You notice now it writes it as 12.000. So you can adjust the data to be whatever it is. You can change it. I can take this text. This changes the text colors, and I can change that text color to something else. Wow. I can delete simply by kicking the delete key, and it deletes it. Oh, say I wanted to put a header in here. Gosh, I need to move this data all down one. Well, that's one way to do it. Or I could right click on the number 1 there and go insert, and it inserts a row. And now I can put my header in, and maybe I'll make that nice and bold. There we go. And I'm going to center that. There's my center command, center text. Oh, that looks nice. Say I want to add those 2 numbers. Well, can I do that? Can I just say, gee, 12 plus 567? That didn't work very well, did it? No, it didn't. In Excel, you need an equal sign. The equal sign, if you start the cell with an equal sign, that tells Excel this is a formula. And then it does the calculation. I could also say, well, gee, do I have to type 12 and 567? I already have it in there. No, I don't. I can say equals this plus, hey, maybe that. And notice that it carried over the formatting and made it a currency, because as soon as this one was a currency, it said, well, he probably meant this one to be a currency too, and made it a currency. Excel does that a lot. It makes assumptions. And if you've used Microsoft products in the past, you know that that is true. Let's end this first bit with taking a look at some data here that we collected last year. It's the hardness value using the Brinell hardness tester. Maybe you've used this already, maybe you haven't. And what I'd like to do is format this a little nicer than it is. This is the raw data. It's the Brinell tester. Here's my samples. And then I want to calculate the Brinell hardness, which we'll do in another video. The load was 3,000 kilograms and the diameter of the machine 10 millimeters that made the indentation. Notice this Brinell tester, it's in cell A1, but I'd really like it to be a header over both these two, so I can pick cells A1 and B1 and hit merge and center, and it puts the text centers between the two. Isn't that nice? Then I'm going to pick all of this, right click, format cells, border, make sure my color is black, and put a nice outline in like that. Didn't that look nice? Maybe I'll go a little farther and I'll maybe make the top headings bold, and I'll make the second subheading italics, just to, emphasize. And then I'm going to grab this row, go format cells, pick a big fat thick line on the bottom. Doesn't that look nice? See, with a little bit of effort, you can really make the data look sharp in Excel, and then when you go to print this, it's going to look fine. And that's really nice, because that's going to make a nice professional look to your lab report, and that always gets higher points. It needs to look good as well as be good. It needs to be both. All right, come back when you're ready, and we'll actually do some mathematical calculations.